All right, welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. If you're new, please consider subscribing. But now let's talk about Caspa. As we're looking at the entire market today, you guys can see majority of the coins are in red, and that is due to Bitcoin seeing a little bit of a minor retracement. If you have watched my Cardano and Solana update, you know what is happening within the markets. But let's take a further look at CAS, see what is happening, and of course, what is yet to come. So if we're looking at Caspa's price right now, it's in green, which is great to see. We haven't really seen a green for Caspa for quite some time. You guys can see it's up 0.7% over the past 24 hours in USD comparative. It's also up 1% in BTC comparative over the past 24 hours. Market cap currently sitting at $2.77 billion, so rounded up to almost $2.8 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume currently sitting at $26 million. You know, this update is going to be a very interesting update. I'm going to be comparing it with one project, that had a huge significant rally and had a huge pullback, even in the bull market, and then it made its way past back towards a new all-time high. So just want to share with you guys that things like these can happen. So let's waste no more time and talk about that. So the reason as to why we're going to be making a comparison is because there's been a lot of negative comments coming in now, a lot. And I mentioned that in my update yesterday. Now that Caspa is just trading sideways, it's not having as much of explosion it was having in November and even early December. Now you guys can see interest has decreased, which as a crypto OG, I can't wrap my head around this till this day. When the project is pumping like crazy, hitting all-time high after all-time high, if you go ask general, community members what your overall take on Caspa is, they're going to be like, we're moon boys, we're bullish. We missed out. We wish we picked it up at a cheaper price, this and that. But when the retracement comes, that's when these people are ghost mode. And then, people around times like these are the people that actually understand Caspa and actually do pick up, the fear. And speaking about fear, there is fear right now. And yes, profit taking is happening. Believe it or not, it's happening right now because people are allocating their funds from Caspa, which they made massive gains off of, taking some of the profits and putting it elsewhere. So that could be an indication why we've seen the price pretty much in December 4th in a downwards trajectory. And let's take a look at that. So from December 4th, we've seen a decrease of about 17%. That is what's happening behind the scenes right now. And of course, if fear starts, piling up, this becomes a snowball effect, as you know. And once it becomes a snowball effect, prices can go lower. And, the whales know how to manipulate people's minds. And this can cause people to panic more and more and more, which can cause obviously the price to go more towards the downside. So I wanted to compare Caspa's run to one project which is huge in the markets, and at the end of the day, in somewhat a competitor to Caspa as well, and that's Polygon Matic. Let's go down memory lane. So Polygon Matic had a huge rally. This project was launched on the Binance IEO back in 2019, and you can see this for yourself if you pick this project up pretty much on November of 2020. You saw this thing run up. Look at this, 14,135%. This was when market was heating up. If you remember, quarter one to quarter two of 2021 was massive, and then we saw a huge pullback as well. But speaking about Matic, you can see it hit an all-time high at that time of $2.70, and it had a huge pullback. And this was one of the hot projects too. It saw a pullback of 76%. Can't make this up. A 76% pullback, and this was in July of 2021, and this pretty much happened with everything. Cardano was one of them as well. I remember because I held a nice chunk of ADA at that time. Matic, pretty much everything. So the reason as to why I'm sharing this is because people think that prices can continuously go up straight in one line, but there are times where uncertainty can overtake the space. You never know what can happen with BTC. You never know what whales can do. But speaking about times then and times now, there's a difference. And why that difference is because this rally that we've seen for BTC is because institutions are picking up Bitcoin. They don't want us us people to be buying Bitcoin at a cheaper price. They just don't want to do that. So that's why the price of Bitcoin is sitting at such a high price already. And could we see a correction moving into 2024, leading up to the halving? Possibly. We could see a little bit of a pullback, but going back to $20,000, I highly doubt it. I don't think these institutions will let that happen. So we got to consider times we're in now compared to the times before. So these factors we need to consider. But as far as altcoins go, they can be manipulated quite fast. So could we see Caspa go down to 1 cent? 1 cent, I think it's a big stretch, huge stretch. But we could see Caspa pulling down if it does not make its way back into the 23.6 fib zone. And if more and more people start panicking, Caspa's price could be making its way down without a doubt. You guys can see we are about to see Caspa retest the 0.50 Fibonacci retracement level support, which is at 12.1 cents. And of course, if we break below that, main target is this support at 11.3 cents. So we could see these prices come true. And I know a lot of people in the Caspa community do not want to hear this, but this is totally okay. This is where you need to be educating yourself how these markets work, especially if you have been in the space for quite some time. Hyped projects, guys, hyped projects can be manipulated like this. Don't get it mixed up. So it's totally fine, especially if you're here for the long horizon. If you're here for the long horizon, these small wicks, the pullbacks shouldn't affect you, because you should just put your Caspa in a wallet and your crypto in a wallet and just forget about it, especially if you are here for the long horizon. There's no point in looking at the prices day to day, wicking towards the downside, pullback, this and that, because the reason as to why I'm saying this, let's say Caspa does go back down to 11.3 cents, our brain would be like, hey, let's close our positions out, this and that. So it's better to just forget about it rather than continuously looking at your portfolio in your wallet or whatever. Just delete your apps and everything. Just make sure you keep your private keys. That's what you want to be doing. But people that think that Caspa cannot see more pullback are delusional. Like, let's face it, this can still happen. And we still haven't seen big centralized exchanges come out as of now to list Caspa, but I think that is going to happen. I think Caspa will get listed on bigger exchanges. I think that's bound to happen, considering what Caspa has done in such a short period of time. But I want you guys to keep in mind, manipulation will happen. And, now going back to my main point, the main point of the video was, people come out to me and say, oh, why are you telling people to sell? Why are you telling people to sell Caspa? I never say sell Caspa. I say lock in your profits. Locking in profits is extremely important, because now let me give you an example. You could be locking in profits. No one can time. Of course, no one can time where the top is and stuff, right? But let's say, you are close to its all-time high where prices are just going insanely high, and, greed. This is where you need to start questioning, hey, market is greedy. People are being greedy. That's where you could get an indication, hey, it's time for me to lock a little bit of profits. And when you lock a little bit of profits, you go across the crypto space, maybe coins that you haven't accumulated as of now that you were willing to accumulate, you can, dollar cost average into those. So these are the factors that you need to consider. But a long-term horizon, nothing has changed for myself for Caspa. I think Caspa is going to reach levels that a lot of people will get shocked at in the next 12 to 14 months, but that does not mean we might not see shaky movements in between. Let me tell you, that's something that you need to remember. And times like that, you do not want to be falling for the trap, because at the end of the day, when you see pullbacks like that, it's of course to shake out the weak hands, and that's the main goal for the whales, to get in cheaper at a cheap price. And you as a holder, this is not just for Caspa, for anything, you do not want to be falling for the trap, especially if you're in it for the long haul. And speaking about the long haul, let's say right now you are looking at your portfolio and saying, hey, what I've made as of now is insane amount of money, and I actually can't afford to lose it. So that's an indication that you lock those profits in, and maybe keep that aside in case we were to see a pullback. Because right now, let's remember, believe it or not, let's look at it on the weekly time frame, everything is pumping. Let's look at it on the monthly time frame, everything is pumping. And remember, there's a famous saying, be greedy while others are fearful, be fearful while others are greedy. Right now, I think we should start having that thought in the back of our head. Hold on, market is just pumping. People are not fearful right now. Is this an indication that we should be locking in profits? Possibly. If I was in people's shoes, especially the people that bought Caspa way early on, I would be locking some profits in as of now, just to be on the safe side. Of course, we could see a massive exchange listing that can come tomorrow and boom, off we go. But just to be, minimizing my risk factor and maximizing my profits, I would lock some profits in and either look elsewhere or just keep it in stable coins. But that is it for today's update. Let me know down below if you guys agree with me. What is your overall take on this? And make sure, now hear me out, make sure you guys are keeping your Caspa off of the exchanges. No matter which exchange you are on, keep it off of the exchange and put it on a wallet. Cannot stress this enough. But that is it for today's update. Thank you so much for all your support. Love you all. See you tomorrow in Crypto ZX, and peace out.